Na 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 There's more. Dai Adonai lo etzah bino deshe yitzeni ame menucho yenaledi nafshi shoveh yancheni b'magle segleg leman shemo daram kiyene beged samavet lo ira ki ata imadi gam ki elech beged samavet lo ira ki ata imadi Shivtecha u'mishantecha Emayen nahamu Taro lefana lefana eshulchan Sorerai Nishata B'Shem Eloshi Kosi Ebaya Hatov Yedivuni kol yamei chayai V'shavti beit Adonai le'orech yamim na 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 It fits, the words fit the tune. The tune is very emotional. It allows you to go through the emotions. The more deeply you feel what King David is saying, the more you're able to move with his emotions, going very, very high, very deep, very low, the valley of the shadow of death, right? And then coming up again, only goodness and kindness will pursue me all the days of my life. Wow, where'd you get that? And shiftecha mishantecha, what's a shevet? A shevet is a rod. It represents judgment. Mishantecha is a staff. Represents support. Your shevet and your mishanet. They come because I know it's you who hold both of them. Near the kever of the Ari, it says that the initials of the word Achto v'Chesed are Aleph, Cha, Aleph, Tet, Aleph, Tet. That's 1 plus 9, right? 10. V'Chesed is 9 plus 6, right? 15. Yurdefuni. I got it wrong. Ach, Tov is 10. V'Chesed is 16. Funi is 10, 16 and 10 is 26. So Hashem's name in the Ach, Tov, V'Chesed. It's also hidden in the last letter, Chaf, which is 20. And then Tov, which is Beit, is 2, that's 22. And Chesed, which is Dalet, which is 22 plus 4, 26. So that's called Achor V'Kedim Tzartan. The letters leading into Achor V'Chesed and the letters of the words. Both sides, you're giving me your name. But then I felt very deeply, a long time ago this happened, I felt very deeply that there must be one other place at least in this psalm where the name is hinted at, where God's name is hinted at in the initials. And I found it in Gam, Ki, Elech. Gam is 3. Ki is 20, 23. Elech is 1, 24. Begay is 2, 26. Exactly where it has to be, because Hashem's name is there, accompanying us, even in the darkest place. So that's all I have to say. And music helps you go up and down. Music is made to go up and down. It'll allow you to feel elation, and after you elation, it allows you to go down into your own darkness, and to come and to not get lost there, but to go there with some light. And so it's a deep process. That's Psalm 23. So whoever did get the pages, here's the. And there's more we didn't get.
I didn't
get. Tonight is not about King David, but the definite. When I went away and I'm coming back and I'm saying that we ended the last few classes. We did 12 classes altogether. Yeah, after Yom Kippur, after Sukkot. And so the last few were about Yosef. And you could never finish. We did what we could. I learned a lot. I did. Whatever, just, about the character of Yosef, the power of the story itself, what he tried to do to help his brothers, according to the way I read the story. And basically see him in a good light. I don't see him that he was like some kind of a masochist who was trying to inflict pain on his brothers for no reason. He was trying to get them out of their own problems by giving them a very big, powerful dose of light. So Yosef is seen as a redeemer, and there's so much more, probably we could say. The connection between Moshe which is what we're going to do now, the character of Moshe, is that Moshe has to take Yosef out of Mitzrayim. It's a part of his mission. The Gra says in Kol HaTorah, he said Abraham was a Mashiach ben Yosef. Yitzhak was a Mashiach ben Yosef. We learned a little bit of this. It doesn't matter the details. Yaakov was a Mashiach ben Yosef. Yosef, of course, was a Mashiach ben Yosef. Moshe began to become the Mashiach ben Yosef of his generation when he carried Yosef's bones with him out of Mitzrayim. Yoshua ben Nun, when he fought the battle against Amalek. Shaul and David, they're also Mashiach ben Yosef. The concept is a big concept. It's not like it's limited. It's like anybody who played their part in this incredible drama of bringing Hashem's light into the world, right? The Ari, the Oracham, Chaim Vital, and he doesn't Ramchal and the Baal Shem Tov, but for me, that's part of the whole thing. These are all Mashiach ben characters. They're called redeemers. Safnat Pa'aneach. One of the names of Yosef was the revealer of secrets. Safnat, it's from the word safun, hidden. Pa'aneach is to interpret, to decode, to reveal, the revealer of secrets. Another segue from Yosef to Moshe is that altogether the three of them, Moshe, David, constitute a triad. They constitute a complete unified system. One of the ways to spell Vav is Vav Aleph Vav. Vav Aleph Vav. There's also Vav Yud Vav. There's also Vav Vav. Different ways to spell Vav. So there's a source that says that the two Mashiachs of the two Vavs and the Aleph in the middle is Moshe. See, he's holding two Vavs, his right hand and his left hand. And that the Aleph Agadol is Ha'elef Lecha Shlomo. The Aleph, which turns into an Elef, the 1000, belongs to you, Shlomo. And Shlomo is Moshe Lamed, whatever that means, but that's the way they work. The Mikubalim are very alert to hidden messages. So Moshe Lamed, whatever, is Ha'elef, he gets Elef, the verse in Isaiah, chapter 60, the last verse is Ha'elef, Ha'katan Yela Elef. The little one, the small one, the miniature one will become an Elef, will become a great 1000. That's what the Gra says is called the 999 steps of the Messianic process towards the great 1000. The great 1000 being the Matria, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David equals 1000. When you spell David with the Yud, not just David, Dalet, Vav Dalet, but David is Vav Yud Dalet, which is as it's spelled at the end of his life in Sefer Divrei Hayamim. So you add that Yud, he becomes 24 instead of just 14. All these things, and one goes after the other. It's just a system. It's a system that they all clicked into. And we've talked about it, that we want to become part of this system. It's partially dependent on knowledge. The more we want to learn about it, it's also dependent upon our yearning, our desire, connect to the Nishmat HaTzadikim, to the souls of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, it doesn't matter, all of them, one of them, two of them, whoever you feel closest to that character, internalize as much as you can. You don't lose your own individuality when you deal with them. You gain more of your own individuality. You become greater. Your life becomes much more of a divinely guided choreography. That's how I feel about it, and I tried really to give that over in the first few months of our classes. Anybody have any sense of that in their life? Did anybody get that? Is it good that I'm saying it now because maybe you missed it then? Tell me, What's it mean that your life now becomes lived at a higher level? You still are you. You're still the little boy, the little girl that was born in such and such and grew up in such and such a family and went to such and such grammar school, middle school, or what they called it in my days, junior high, and high school and college, whatever. You're that person. That's who you are. But you're also a neshama that came down and fit into that little story. But that neshama is bigger. It's bigger than the story that you are right now. So when you connect to these teachings, you connect to that higher level of yourself. That's the model I'm using.
Are you saying a person should connect to only one?
No, not at all. But you can, but you can do one time in your life and another at another time. And they're all there for us. They're just totally all there for us. Good question. Good to see you. Funny, I recognize you.
I think that everybody's neshama is drawn to a particular tzaddik.
Everybody's neshama. You feel so. Feel neshama is drawn to a particular tzaddik.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And it helps.
And you can discover that. You can go inside and you can test that connection. You can ask for siyata d'shma. You can ask for divine assistance through that tzaddik. We don't ask for divine assistance from the tzaddik or the tzaddikah because we don't pray to them. We pray to Hashem. My teacher, Rav Darzi, taught us that when we go to Kivrei Tzaddikim, we can speak to the tzaddikim because they're alive, but we don't pray to them. It's a subtle difference, but it's important.
We ask them to intercede on our behalf.
Yes, definitely, because they know what's going on upstairs. There's a Zohar that says that when we have a problem, and it's Am Yisrael has a problem, we come to the Kivrei Tzaddikim, that if we aren't worthy, if we're worthy, Hashem tells them about it upstairs and they pray. But if we're not worthy, then one of the ways of becoming worthy is going to their graves, getting connected and saying, we need your help. We need Hashem. We need Hashem's help. Please get together up there. We're getting together down here. You get together up there. It's these Kivrei Tzaddikim are what we would call sacred spots. They are openings to heaven.
And that's not regarded as disturbing them from their...
No, let's disturb them as much as we can. Okay.
Find a higher good lawyer.
Yes. Okay, here we are. Wow. Yes.
I just wanted to
Please open up.
ask if somebody felt, because of all kinds of things that I'm going through with renovations and building my partner. Oh, but it's almost finished. So I've been feeling that there's another level operating because there've been ups and downs and lots of disappointment, really heavy duty stuff. But I've been feeling that there's another level operating that I don't understand it, but I'm just aware that there's something else going on. And I just don't, so this is what I feel our study has been doing for me. And I've been asking about it, but I have no idea what answers I'm going to get.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
It just happens. When I was supposed to get to Los Angeles on Sunday, January 20-something, or January 14th, whatever that Sunday was, and then they told me that my brother Bob was very ill, so I changed the first time I tried to change my ticket, they asked $550 from me, so I said no. But then they called again and said it's serious. Try and come, and I called and it was only $235, so I took it. It was cheaper the second time than the first time. Okay, I got there Thursday morning, and I got there 15 minutes after he passed away, and Shlomo was still there, and his wife and her son were sitting on the floor on the carpet, and my brother was lying on the floor. He covered his face, and the first thing that Louise said to me was, "Avraham, I'll do whatever you tell me." So I called the Chevra Kadisha, the Jewish Burial Society. And then she held up her phone at one point. "I used to show your brother you teaching on Facebook." I said, "No, you're kidding." So if you're watching, Louise, but the everything flowed from that moment on. So that wasn't me who got there. That was me who was brought there. And so I couldn't just go into any kind of inner trip. I just had to be there and do what needed to be done because I knew that there was somebody guiding the whole thing. So that's maybe an example, I don't know, an example of Hashem coming and revealing himself in our life in a way. That's what I felt, at least. Okay, anybody else about that idea? The idea that when you open yourself up, yes.
More of a question on what you said about, on one hand, having your individual story and then also connecting to a bigger, and that, if anything, gives you more individuality. Now, where is the balance between that drawing you and you deciding that, you know what, I was reading the Parsha, and based off of what I was reading with Yosef, I feel like I really want to integrate part of that into my life. So now I'm going to try to meditate off of that. Meaning, is it both? Is it one way or the other? Do you do that, or does that kind of happen to you?
I thought you were going to ask something, but you didn't say it explicitly. So I have to hear the question. Please forgive me.
Sure.
Now, what's the between connecting to a higher soul level? And where are you in the process? What happens to you? Is that what you're asking or not?
Well, sorry, I'll try to be more clear. Is it that you are driven and feel connected to a particular higher soul, or is it that you decide at this point in my life, hearing about Yosef, I want to incorporate more of that idea into my life. Therefore, now I'm going to start thinking more like that, and I'm consciously connecting that way. Because is it more proactive or reactive?
Well, I don't think I've been told that heaven is not invasive, not invade. It's very polite. It waits for you to make the first move, and if you decide you want to do something, then it even then. But I again, the way I was taught was you make the moves and you'll be helped. Then maybe there's a whole process that interacts with us. I'm not an expert. I've been told certain things and I try and utilize them whenever, but so you are the one who is the mover. You move by your own actions and your own inside, what goes on inside of you. So making a decision is an important thing in life, making a decision. And then maybe I can't keep to it, and then I forget about it for a year, and then I come back, or a month, and come back. So the coming back, the remembering is a gift that's given to us, or let's say I didn't forget, and I'm really pushing it. I'm not driven to push it, but I would ask, but in my opinion, asking heaven is better than trying to control heaven. We come into a relationship with something bigger than us. I don't know enough about it to say, like, I know. I don't know anything. But certain rules seem to be true. Certain rules seem to hold true in the way that heaven interacts with us. And I'm very curious and interested how that works and how that manifests in my life and how it manifests in the world. In terms of, all I can do is look and see and pay attention and try and build some kind of a building, an edifice of understanding. And that's a long-term thing. But there's feelings also that once in a while something happens and you ask, is this, and you don't get an answer in words, but you thought, well, maybe that was, and I want to move on this. I'm sorry not to give you a much more concrete answer. It's when you're dealing with heaven, it's like, it's a real spiritual reality. It's the reality behind reality, in my humble opinion. It's Hashem. There are tzaddikim, there are angels, there are all kinds of things. There are also negative forces. There are negative forces that can try and infiltrate and intimidate us and bring us down. I think the mitzvah, the system of mitzvah in general, whether it's washing our hands in the morning or washing our hands after we come out of the bathroom, and these things are are protective, and they enhance the positive energy in our life, and they protect us from any leakage of, or what's usually the forces of the parasitical forces that are exist love to attack us from the back, from our back end, where we're not aware. This verse is about Bala, about this. Okay, so I went from the positive to negative. It's not one complete, coherent answer I'm giving you. I'm just giving you somewhat of a picture. Please, let's leave it at that.
Thank you.
Can I just say something about what you said?
Yes.
That I've gotten over learning with you for these last few years or whatever it's been. Is that reach? Like you reach, you do that thing. Then I think Rav Avraham taught me is that you reach, you work in your life to become the vessel to receive it. When you're able to receive it, then Hashem sends it. Is that okay?
Beautiful.
That's how
Beautiful. Simple. Beautiful.
So actually, sorry.
Yes.
So we are trying to say that no one is really connecting with the David HaMelech character until after 5,778 years. I mean, we need one person that connects to that, really, to that character, to just go out of Geula.
So how okay. Does it mean, did I imply that nobody is really ever connected to David Melech? Because if they had, then the Geula would have come, because David Melech is Mashiach, and Yosef, etc., and Moshe. No, I don't think it's so absolute. I think it's that every one of us is a little piece of a bigger drama, where each one of us is a violin or an oboe or we're playing our instrument, we're part of something bigger. And the symphony is more beautiful when each one of us plays our instrument more beautifully. It's for me to decide what the outcome of an action will be. I just do the best I can with what I've been given. So they're teaching that after Hasina, that Adam Rishon had the power that one action could have the entire world to its perfection, or the opposite. And then the only other time in history where that big of a moment existed was Mount Sinai, with Har Sinai. And if we would have overcome the Egel, then the whole world would have been lifted up. And as a result of not doing it, then the world falls down again. From that moment on, according to Rabbi Shlomo Yashiv Leshem, never will again, until Mashiach comes, will there be a moment where everything can be fixed or everything can be ruined in 1 second. It's all going to be incremental. What the Gra calls his 999 steps of history. We may not see what the effects are of our actions. We may not see. We may not understand. We have to have a certain amount of amunah, right? On a stability that does not depend on external proofs. Something inside each of us. Great stuff. I'm glad we're talking about it. Yes, Abraham.
I've got a cosmic question. When that moment comes and Mashiach comes again, we have the unity. Can't go wrong
Could it go wrong the third time? Well, no, because we hold that the Gra himself says in Kol HaTorah that he has a prayer called Od Yosef Chai, and it's I don't have it in front of me. He says, he gives an example of a decree that a king made as a result of his son angering him. And the king decreed, it's from the Midrash, the king decreed that he was going to throw a big boulder at the son. But then he regretted it. Not every detail of the mashal has to be, but the main thing is, yeah. So the king regretted the idea of throwing the boulder, but he couldn't nullify the decree. He said, therefore, I will break it up into small pebbles, throw them at my son a few days, and that he'll survive the process, and in the end, and I will have already thrown the whole thing at him. So, and there's other examples given in the Gemara about little things. It's instead of one huge moment where it's going to either happen or not happen, all of history, this 999 steps, right? All of history is already doing it for us. We're in a pregnancy, and the pregnancy is going to, we're going through all the pain of the pregnancy, and therefore we're promised that the birth will happen. It's Isaiah, a number of verses. Will she become pregnant and not give birth? Like beautiful verses. And so you have almost a promise that because it's a natural process, because we're involved in it, it's not always, it's not only miraculous, it has to do with our going through stuff. And so therefore, it's not for naught. Nothing that any of us is going through is for naught. We can't understand it while it's happening, but we'll see the movie at the end. Hashem will play the movie for us and we'll say, will you show that to us again? And we'll look at it again. If you have to see a movie 2-3 times before you can really get the movie, these are deep movies. And we'll say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I call it a 26-hour movie. But we don't have to make the movie because nobody could really ever do justice to it. We just have to run it and hear that this is this incredible movie. And at the end, we believe, it's emunah, we believe that something will happen to clarify everything that ever happened retroactively.
It's a beautiful story. And it's a beautiful thing, like all the little things that go wrong, like an annoying builder doesn't show up. But it's all like my son was, my grandmother was a real rock. It was like,
Right.
like,
Good.
Yeah. I put some points.
So this idea that we're part of a bigger drama is already is a fundamental. It's a paradigm shift. It's not just me. It's not just somebody up there who hates me and who makes my life miserable, and all that stuff. There's a really good director of the movie up, and he knows and loves us. And as it says in the Psalms, when King David says in Psalm 91, he says, "Samechenu ki mot initanu shnot yaminu ra'inu ra'a." So the pshat is rejoice us ki mot the affliction shnot years ra'inu ra'a for the evil that we saw. So the Midrash says a year for every day. A year for every day. We're not just asking for years against years and days against days. The two parts of the verse interact with each other every day we saw. So there's beautiful, beautiful things, and maybe that's not fully clarified from what I just said, but that's in. I went into that in my translation of Ma'amar Geula from the Ramchal, which I never shared with you yet. Ma'amar Geula. So those are the two books that I thought we were going to learn. But I figured that it's better to do Yosef, Moshe, and David as people, as characters, to personalize the Torah, and the conceptual level will come later and come out of it, go out of these characters. That's the reworking of my plan in the middle of the year. You're about to go into Moshe, and then into David at the end of the year. Moshe is going to lead us into Pesach. There'll be a little bit of Purim in between. And because Mordechai is Moshe, okay, that's also nice stuff. And so then that'll lead us into Shavuot, which is David. And that'll basically be Yosef, Moshe, David. The gematria of three of them is 515. They say it's the gematria of the word Vayetchanan. Moshe prayed 515 prayers when he said, Vayetchanan Moshe be'etahi, Vayetchanan be'etahi, and I pleaded at that time, Vayetchanan, Chinun, I asked for your grace, then, and it's actually of the word tefillah, prayer itself, is 515. The Ramchal wrote a book, Taktu Tfilot, which is Taktu is Taf Kuf is 400 plus 100 plus 2, which is 15. It's 515 prayers. Each one of them begins with the same words and ends with the same words. And in between these amazing prayers at the Ramchal, that like 515 is this major concept by us. And the gematria of all three of these characters. And we say something at Mincha of Shabbat because they all died at Mincha of Shabbat. And we say these three verses so that it's totally connected. Whatever it, we don't know anything. You don't have this, but it's Rosh is 345, Yosef is 156, and David is 14. So it's 515. Shira, the gematria of the word Shira, song, the gematria of the word Netanya, whatever. I just, good with 5. Next, okay, psychology of the soul. In many places, the Torah teaches through stories. Anybody doesn't have their copy? Okay, good. In many cases, the Torah teaches through stories, like the whole Torah, even the book of Leviticus, which is like tremendous detailed account of the stuff from which the Mishkan is made, is part of a story. Bamidbar is for sure stories. Like we were about to go into Eretz Yisrael, we got up in this amazing thing. 3 tribes here, 3 tribes here, 3 tribes here, 3 tribes here, and then the cloud above us, and Hashem said, "Go!" And Yehuda went this way, and then this, and Reuven, and then this, and Dan, and the whole thing is moving, and that's like the throne of glory above with Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Uriel. We're like totally in this formation. Divine formation. We're going to go into Eretz Yisrael and there's no war. It's going to be anything. Everybody's going to just like make peace with us, and then we complain. The end of Parshat Ba'alot, 2 things happen. It's called the Asafsuf, and the other guys, whatever, the Erev Rav, and then everything starts to go wrong, one thing after the other, Meraglim and this and that, and we were about to go into Eretz Yisrael, and then Moshe hits the rock, and everything goes wrong. That's story. That's story at its best. So the Torah talks through stories, but behind the stories, what?
Or at its worst.
Or at its worst. Basically, it's telling us that we're still in the story. That the director decided that the story had to go on, and that it was not time to end it yet. And that Moshe is going to come back in every generation, and Yosef and David and Sarah and Rocha and Ruth and Boaz, and all of them are here in us. We are sparks of their souls, and we're living out the Torah story. We are a Torah. The Shekhinah dwells in us and speaks through us, manifests through us, and we're totally unconscious. Becoming aware of ourselves as souls is the first step, and then hopefully God will open our eyes completely. So the Torah speaks through stories. And the Ari has informed us. The whole Torah from Adam to Moshe is one great drama that contains deeper and deeper layers of meaning. Because Moshe, in a sense, is a reincarnation of Adam. And he does things, in a sense, when you go back to Adam. Deeper layers are that each character has its own deeper layers. These deeper levels are preserved in the oral Torah that accompany the written Torah. In other words, the idea here is that if my first example is Noah's Ark. It has 3 stories, simple. And Noah has 3 sons, simple. Is there a connection between the fact that Noah has 3 sons and that he was told to build an ark that had 3 stories? So the answer is, in the story level, I don't know. But behind the story level, yes, it begins the formation of a schemata that's going to be there throughout the entire Torah, and that has to do with each one of us, our 3 levels, our main 3 levels. And up here, there's an extra 2. In the 3rd level, there's an extra 2, but we start off always with 3. And
also Yitzchak and Yaakov as well.
Interesting. I do another thing with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's it's a little different. That's what's called thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Protons, electrons, and neutrons. Positive, negative, and the synthesis of the two. So that's a different system. I have a whole chapter written on that and how that works. It's a good question. Why don't I bring it in here? Because I didn't see any way to do it easily. So I said it's three, and it's a threefold system, and it could be that it could be put in here. I'll think about it. So you have now with humanity, Adam humanity, you have three verses here. Adam Noah verse. I go back to Adam. So you have the first word in the first verse, and the first word in the second verse. The first word in the first verse is Vayibra Elohim et Adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elohim bara oto. Hashem created humanity in His image, and the image and our worlds set forth by His plan. Actually, that's jumping the gun, and God does not have an image, but He has a blueprint that He uses, which is exactly what we're discovering here is the blueprint behind the story. So He creates man in this. The next verse is Vayitzer Hashem Elokim et Adam. Hashem forms man. So Vayivra is He created. Vayitzer is He formed. And then the third verse is really just the Aramaic Targum of the second one. So the verse itself, it's a little tiny verse, Kibetzela Elohim Asat Adam, for Elohim made man in His image. So Asa is usually translated made. Yetzer is translated formed. And Yivra is translated created. So the higher level is creation. The story doesn't tell you this, but we know afterwards that Asa is a lower level. It's more of like a formalization of after the thing has been formed, but not completely until it's brought into Asiya. And before that is Bria, which is there. It's just about to be. It's just been created, but it's the essence type thing. The Gra goes into what Bria is, what Yetzira is, what Asiya is. We can go endlessly, but the main thing is it's a system where Bria is a higher level, actual creation of something. The Yetzira is the forming of that. It's like you have the tree, and then you have now the table made out of the tree, and then you have this of the table with people sitting around it is Asiya level. In terms of the human personality, we'll see in a moment. So I'm just using these two examples of the threefold, the concept of three in Noah and the concept of three in the creation of man. In these same verses, with the Onkelos, we have three words for Neshama. So that's now, again, the beginning of another set of three, that the three words for Neshama, which you have them bolded. Nishmat, Chaim, Nefesh, Chaya, and in the Targum Onkelos, Ruach Mimalala. So let's see what happens here. So if the Noach's ark and Noach's sons, it says here sons, this is an oversight on my part. I guess he was singing a little bit. Noach's sons and Noach's ark, if that is enough to tell us to create a system, since Shem has to do with naming things, has to do with intellect, the head. Yefet is beauty, aesthetics. And Cham is blood, hot. And then in the ark, it's humans on the higher floor, animals in the middle, and waste on the bottom. And the correspondence in the body is the brain and nervous system, the heart and the respiratory system, the stomach and the digestive tract. That's pushing it a little bit with animals in waste. The animals would be here, according to this reading, the different emotions represented and embodied in animals. Like we have a whole thing in the Tanakh with animals embody character traits. And that humans, and even the angels in Ezekiel's vision, have animal-like faces. They're human, but there's a human face with an eagle-like contours, and there's a human face with lion, and there's a human face with the other one is ox features. They're not ox, lion, and eagle. They're human, but each one with an animal feature. So I could say that animals, and even the word animal in English comes from animus in Latin, which is life force. One of the reasons the angels are called yot, life force. There's all kinds of stuff there in language. So the first chart is basically going to be repeated with different words.
Isn't there also like something written? I don't remember like what the sort of thing. I don't know if it was from you that even if it wasn't like in mankind, we learn midot from the animals.
Midot from the animals. Yeah, that's what I basically was trying to say. So here you have it a little bit bigger than what you have on your pages. Then you have here that what comes out from the verses. And then the system that Kabbalah develops based on this is a little bit complicated, but again, it's a threefold system where moach, lev, brain, heart, liver. Again, nervous system, heart, respiratory, digestive. In Kabbalah, Rosh, Giviyah, Beten, head, chest, stomach. This is called Pnimi, Tichon, Chitzon. This is more external part of ourselves. This is more internal, and this is the most internal. So that's not just a vertically. It's not just a vertical system. It has layers to it. So that according to the Kabbalah, there's nefesh ruach neshama of nefesh, there's nefesh ruach neshama of ruach, and nefesh ruach neshama of neshama. So it gets a little bit interesting to that stuff.
Can I give an example?
Can I give an example?
How the trait from that is affected by this.
So what's your question?
I don't even know I can articulate. If you got the brain level, you're saying the brain level has the liver and the heart level, and the heart has the brain and the liver.
Right.
So, like, when do you know you're in that state? Like, what's going on?
I would say, let me answer it like this. It even gets to the where you get a 5-level system. So first of all, just let's jump ahead to the three main parts of the Mishkan and the Mikdash. They are called Kodesh Kodashim, Kodesh, and Chatzer. The Holy of Holies, the sanctuary, and the outer courtyard. In the Holy of Holies, corresponding to the head, is what? Is the Ark of the Covenant. So the Holy of Holies is the cranium. The Ark of the Covenant in two tablets might correspond to the two hemispheres of our brain. The two kruvim on top of it, if you'd unfurl our brain, you'd get two beautiful wings, right? And so in the middle is where Hashem spoke to Moshe from the space between the kruvim. So there's a whole system here of the brainstem, an amazing electrical system that we're totally unaware of, but it's making us alive. Here, inside the rib cage, you've heard me say these things before, and it's not, and please forgive me if I'm repeating myself a million times, but it's basically just to set the system in that we can start then talking about it in a meaningful way with Moshe here going into Egypt to bring the children of Israel up to Mount Sinai and then to build the Mishkan. So it's very important. Do this with me. Moshe is born in Egypt. And he's living in Paro's palace. And what we're going to see later why, because when he wants to come back, he's not going to be intimidated. All these things that we've spoken about in one way or the other. And so Moshe has to be born here. He has to be born as a human being in the physical world and not know anything else but his physicality, except he's born, we have a tradition that the house becomes filled with light. It's subtle. It just says she saw the child was good. And you know there's a code word, good. Tov is a code word for back in the fourth verse in Breshit, which is Vayar Elohim et or ki tov. So or ki tov, the light is good. So when you see good, Rashi says on the spot, but Moshe was good. Rashi says the house was filled with light. Where's Rashi getting that from, right? So this is better than the best show on TV where people have to guess all kinds of things. The rabbis have an oral tradition that's alive and popping with all kinds of connections. And you say, oh, wow, far out. I like connection. Keep it. It's yours. Or in Tov. So you have this threefold system. And you have it here in the Mikdash itself. The second Mikdash is the outer, because this is the outer courtyard here of the temple where the bar altar is, which corresponds to the digestive system. Then you go in here into the Kodesh, and you have here in the rib cage, you have here the lungs and the heart and the diaphragm, which is a very important part of our breathing. The lungs corresponding to the menorah, even though the lungs are on both sides apparently, but the menorah was here, and then the heart, the table with the bread on it, and the incense altar is here. So all protected by our rib cage. Again, I love this stuff. Then inside of here in the second temple, empty. The Holy of Holies, which is there's a curtain here. You have to go through the curtain. And then there's this ark inside. In the first temple, in the second temple, there was no ark. It was just the bare Evan Shtia, the bare. We didn't uncover the ark for the second temple. It remained hidden to this day. And I'll tell you more about that, what's going on in the dig down in Qumran, if anybody wants to know.
Yeah.
So it's important. So this is this. And then, as I said, within the Holy of Holies is the cranium would be the Holy of Holies, and inside is the brain and whatever, like the broken tablets, the whole tablets, somehow, and the Kruvim, we have two extra levels. So we have a 3-level system, but in the third level, you have 2 higher levels.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, and that's what in terms of our soul they're called Nefesh Ruach Neshama HaYechida, and in terms of the Mikdash they're called Chatzer, Kodesh, Kodesh Kodeshim, and what did I put? Aron HaKodesh, the Ark, and the Kruvim. So yes.
Connection between people's health and those specific things you say related to those parts of the body?
Well, if there's any connection, so health practitioners might be interested in this set of correspondences, and we ourselves, each one of us in our little body, should know that what I did in Manhattan is I said, everybody put your hand on your stomach. And just put your hand there and send some healing into your digestive tract, into your lower part, which psychologically embodies our lusts, our needs, our woundedness, a lot of stuff down here in this area, right? And holding our hand there and giving some good positive energy into that part of our body. Becoming aware. But holding your hands there means I'm putting my attention there. And you can do that when you go to bed at night. You can put both hands on your stomach if you want, or you can put one hand on your stomach and one hand on your heart. These are meaningful positions for hands to be placed in. And you can talk to those parts of your body, or you can, massage them slightly. You can ask them for messages of what you need to know from them. You can sensitize yourself to be able to to know a little bit more. It's an open thing, okay?
Rabbi Sutton.
Certainly nothing wrong with putting a hand there and making some good movements that'll clear us, whatever. Who wanted to say something?
Me.
Yes.
Where's the Keturah?
The Keturah, the incense altar
Mhm.
is in the middle as you're coming up into the holies, into the Kodesh, into the living room of the Beit HaMikdash is the bedroom.
Mhm.
This corresponds to the bedroom, the Holy of Holies. So this is where the living room is, the dining room is the living room, the dining room together. But whatever the case, you come up, you meet here in the middle, you meet the incense altar first. Now the diaphragm is winged. And I looked up as I could, and I always get mixed up when I'm looking at it in the books that I've seen. I've made a big point to look at it. It's called in Hebrew, it has a name that I can't get right now. But yeah, when you breathe in, when you breathe out, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's counterintuitive. Some call it the solar plexus, but I was told that that's not a medical term. Medical science does not accept that as a term. But I always felt it was very strong because the Tiferet is, and we're solar, which is the solar of the body.
How do we understand that the Malah is the Tirgum of Nefesh Chaya? So it's sort of like the oral tradition sort of concealing the Ruach Malah, and we have to resort to Unclus to sort of see the Ruach. How are we to understand?
Yeah,
especially with its connection to
certainly
Nefesh.
later on, the Torah will give forth a lot of Ruach and have a lot of times where the word Ruach in it. But in fact, even this what is it? The fourth verse is Veruach Elohim Merachevet al Panei Mayim, the spirit of Hashem hovering over the waters, which the Chazal say is the spirit of Mashiach, which is over history, the waters of history. So again, why did we have to resort to Onkelos? It just happens to be here. If you want to get it right within this section here of these verses. The point is that the storyline does not have to give you any information. You cannot say the right, why did you use this word? Because Vayivra and Vayas and Va'asa and Vayitzer, according to the story level, have no specific meaning. It's only the oral Torah, the teaching behind the Torah, where these things now take on meaning. The Torah hides itself in stories and in narrative, and the Torah reveals itself through the oral teachings that gives you a hierarchical meaning to every word. And that neshama is higher than ruach, which is higher than nefesh, which is bria, which is higher than yitzir, which is higher than asiya. And it becomes now the names of the three lower worlds are asiya, yitzira, bria, corresponding to the three levels of neshama, of nefesh, ruach, neshama. And you map them onto yourself right here. And that you see that every one of them has an infrastructure of the whole thing. And what I was going to say before is, in terms of the 5 level, I hope this is not driving everybody crazy. Just one more thing, and then we're going to go on. We're going to go on a little bit. This 5-level system of the 5 levels of the soul is also goes into 25. And there's 5. Each one has sub-levels of 5. And then it keeps going. And the Ari says that each one has 250. And the 250 Pinimi and 250 Chitzon, it's like 500 levels. Whoa, what's going on here? So one thing I said about it in Anatomy of the Soul, the rest of the book, is that if you rise up, you don't have to go up big steps. You just have to go up tiny steps. And if you fall, you just fall a few steps. So that's one thing about a ladder that has a lot of tiny rungs. The second thing about it is that even down in nefesh of nefesh, whatever that would be, my most physical part of myself is an aspect of Yechida, Shama, and Maya, of the 3 higher levels of the soul. So even I'm in my most physical, but there's an aspect of divinity within my life right here, right now. I don't have to go anywhere to get connection to God. I have to, basically the connection is within myself, within the physicality that I am. That's where I can connect to the divinity with myself. That's for me, that was a very, very major thing. So that's what I got from this what's called this inter-inclusiveness, a system where the higher levels are included in the lower levels, and the lower levels are coming from, or they already existed up there, but in more in potential. Now when they nefesh of yechida comes down, becomes yechida of nefesh, meaning to say that the lowest level of the highest level of my being becomes embodied in the highest level of the lowest level of my being. Yes.
Does that sort of transformation happen when we as material people use material things? Like I take 10 shekel, I put it in a sucker box. I'm trying to be very basic because I'm a very basic kind of person. Put it in. So is that like saying that that 10 shekel piece and my hand and my deed all somehow connect up to a much higher level? And the mitzvot that help us to integrate from down here to up there?
Yeah, so the system of mitzvot has 5 levels. It has the action level. It has the speech level. If you want to put some feeling in there also, that's where that would be. There's what's called the kavana, the specific intention in what I'm doing. I'm giving tzedakah because I want to help this person to get on his feet. I want this person to have, and I want to have the merit to give it to him or her. My specific kavana is more like a laser beam that's focused on a specific thing. Above kavana is the whole system of meanings that I'm connected to, which is called machshava or koach hamachshava. The system of mitzvot, of which this mitzvah is a particular manifestation, a particular array. And then above all of them, or inside all of them, is the liba, which is the will of the will of the heart, and it corresponds to ratzon, the highest will, to keter and to yechida. So what happens in this system is that if I just do the deed, fine, I did a mitzvah, very nice. But if I connect it now and I say a bracha over the deed, I give it more power. And if my speech is meaningful because it's connected to my thought process and to my intentions and to the real reason why I exist, I'm bringing atomic power into my action by connecting all the way to the top of the system and bringing it to bear on all the lower levels. This is stuff I go to in my book. It's all preparatory to see something about Moshe, but I guess in so much time that we may not get to Moshe. But Moshe is going to embody something important here. Let's see page 2. So at the top of page 2, you have Vayivra, Vayitzer, and Asa from those 3 verses. And then you have conceptually, and the wisdom system of Torah that's behind the narrative, you have something called Olam Habriya, the world of creation, Olam HaYetzirah, the world of formation, and Olam HaAsiyah, the world of completion or actualization. And it goes up. We're not even mentioning Atzilut and Adam Kadmon here, the 2 higher levels, but just down here, and you have a thought to do something. That's your brain. Now you formulate a plan to actualize, right? And so the formation part of it is the Yetzirah part. The actualization, the house, when it comes down to it, is the actualization of the thought that you had. Above those, again, are the 2, which is the desire and the reason that I need a house. And that's the kind of house I need is going to determine what the building materials that I'm going to use for the house, and how I'm going to see now when I get into the house and I say, I'm really happy that I put the bathrooms here. I'm really happy the bedrooms are there, that the children's places are here, that there's a loft here. I can see that there was me, the builder and the constructing, the one who did it and the one who visited it, or even somebody who's coming to visit the house says, that's brilliant what you did here. You really used space beautifully. And I say, because I had in mind that I wanted to use this space for a double purpose. And so it came to me that in my thought process, when I was conceiving the house, right, that those are the things that I had to do and put together. And in order to do that, I had to have special materials. And then the materials themselves didn't come together on their own. They were built by builders who manifested the very, very thought that I had. You get the idea of going up and down, back to potential, where it's in my mind, and coming back into physicality, where I see the manifested thing. And so this program here that the Torah is presenting us is not maybe unique, but it's certainly, it builds on itself, and it becomes more and more profound that this is what the Torah wants us as a basis for how we live our lives. That I want my lower part to be consonant, aligned with my higher part. I want what I'm doing down here not to be a contradiction to what I'm thinking about up here. I want my speech to be consistent with the good thoughts that I have. And if I use foul language, then the prayer that I'm saying become meaningless because I'm using this mouth here. So it's requiring that I become a whole unified person, as opposed to a bunch of broken parts, each one doing what each one wants. So we're getting towards unification here, that the three helps me unify the so. Now we got to Moshe Rabbeinu. So what do we see here? Probably before Moshe is superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. Right? That's what we're seeing here is the head, the heart system, and the lower part of the body. Now next to superconsciousness is Moshe on Mount Sinai, Moshe in the spiritual dimension. Conscious is Moshe at Burning Bush in the Sinai desert. I'll explain, and within the story, we'll see how that works out. In the subconscious, Moshe born in Egypt. Then, what happens with that is when Moshe does get to Mount Sinai and to the burning bush in his own personal, it's a mixture of what happens to Moshe when he's there alone and what happens to him later when he brings Am Yisrael. It's a little bit, I'm mixing, but can you move with me here? That Moshe escapes from Egypt. He escapes from Paro. And he has a vision at the burning bush in the Sinai desert. And that's one of my favorite scenes in the Torah, when Hashem calls to Moshe. Anybody want to give it over to us? What happens with Moshe at the burning bush? I'm doing all the talking, so go ahead. Yeah. Take your shoes off, Moshe. First of all, he speaks to Moshe, and it's his first time that he's ever heard. And what's his response when he hears the voice? Father, Father, Father. And Hashem's answer is, Elohei Avicha, I'm the God of your father. I came to you with your father's voice, not to scare you. It's a beautiful midrash. Later on in Shmuel hears Eli calling to him, the Kohen Gadol. He gets up. You all know this. These are the stories. There's the stories. These are the best stories. Go. What did you want, Eli? I didn't call you. Go back to sleep. 2 times. The 3rd time, Eli says, go back this time and say, yes, Hashem. Hineni, I'm here. Whatever you want. Yeah. So the idea of Hashem calling to us is so special, so sweet. We're all waiting. Put it into your mind that you'd like that. You'd like to have your moment. Whatever. So the burning bush is so symbolic. All he can think about is his people back in Egypt, and yet he's now married to Tzipporah, and he's had 1 son, maybe even 2 by now, And Eliezer's been born already. And the first one is called Gershom, which is from Ger Sham, a stranger there. He named him Gershom, ki ger hayiti be'eretz nochriya, because I was a stranger in a strange land. That's the name of the book. Anybody ever read that one? Back in the 50s and 60s. Stranger in a strange land. Okay, so he's telling us, he's giving us a signpost in his life. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He's naming his son after the spiritual level that he's gotten to. Now, not knowing who I am is actually better than thinking I know who I am. So Gershom is a very important signpost in my life. I don't know who I am, Hashem. I need you to reveal that to me. It's an honest, it's very, very powerful honesty. And so he has this incredible experience where the fire is not consuming the bush. It's a bush, first of all. It's a very lowly bush. It's a sneh, because it's Sinai, the Sinai desert. It's a sneh, and sneh is a bush. And everybody has ever seen, have you ever not seen, anybody not seen Sinai stones? Mm-hmm. Sinai stones, everywhere you break them, you see a sneh. It's threaded with black lines that when you open or you break any stone, you see a sneh. I'll bring in a picture next week. I don't have a stone, but I have a picture of one. Somebody tried to make a business once. I guess he took a truck down there. Okay. So, what does the symbolism mean? How can we become a little bit of interpreters of dream images? What does that mean when my bush is burning, but it's not being
means I'm a source of light. Source of light.
I have a source of light within me. Each one has a source of light within us. It's not a destructive fire. It's a power source. It doesn't consume and burn up and destroy the vessel that it's in. It surrounds it and has its strongest in the heart of the physical bush. It's called lavat esh, lev. It has the word lev in it, heart. So whatever, we're not even doing it inside with Rashi and all these beautiful things. We're not even doing that. Just a little bit of symbolism here. Also the suffering of the Jewish people, but not being consumed. There's something about that also. There's a divine light permeating the entire physical reality, but it's not a consuming light, not a destructive light. It's there. And it's usually there and unseen, but now Moshe is being shown that which is always there. That's why it's called an angelic apparition. It was a malach to get his attention. All these little things we all, look at it, even though it's not this week's. So at that moment he says, Moshe, take off your shoes. And you've all heard me give over the four people whose names are called twice. Moshe is the third one. Avraham, Yaakov, and Shmuel. So it's it could lead us for the end of the class into a good meditation, okay? And then we won't finish everything, and we'll come back to these pages, and we'll use them as a springboard for more learning. In terms of Hebrew at the bottom, there's like the two passages from the Ari, one passage from the Tanya, and one passage from the Rabbi Nachman's Likutei Moharan, all about Moshe and who he is spiritually. And then I happened to receive a book in New York from Reb Moshe Milstein. He calls it Be'er Moshe. Moshe Be'er. Interesting. It should be Be'er Moshe, the well of Moshe. It's Moshe Be'er. It's Moshe is not only a well, but he's explaining, he's clarifying, he's bringing light. Moshe Be'er at the Torah. Moshe clarified and brought light, brought the Torah to light. His name is Reb Moshe Milstein. He's in Brooklyn. He's one of the only in Brooklyn. And he has a lot of Hasidim. He's written a lot of storms. So I was here in this book, and he's talking exactly about what we wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about tonight, of Moshe's level of inner consciousness of divinity within each one of us. But again, I won't do it to you. I love sources. I love it when I'm led to a source, like he just gave me these books in Brooklyn. I bring it back to Israel. He said, maybe you'll translate them. I said, wow. So just see the ideas here in the chart. The second from the top, Moshe Rabbeinu Dat Pinimi, inner point of godliness. So we've said Shem is the son of Noah. We've said super conscious. We've had the Holy of Holies. We have a wonderful set of correspondences. The Olam Abriya with the higher levels of Atzilut coming into it, and Adam Kadmon and Ein Sof coming into and dwelling in the upper part of Olam Abriya. Because Olam Abriya is called Kisei Kavod, the throne of glory, which is explained as it's the throne glory. The glory is the lower extremity of the light of Ein Sof coming into Bria. And Bria as a throne is a temple for that light. So it's beautiful, beautiful stuff that we are given here as an internal teaching within ourselves. Our brain stem is an amazing electrical system. And then we get to know that the truth is that we're connected all the way up. And that when Hashem is his name twice, it's Moshe, that which never left heaven, the spiritual root, and all the second one is all the branch that branches all the way down into Moshe, the individual. And then he's told to take off his shoes, take off your body, and I'll electrify you with the higher level of your own soul, so that you'll never be the same, but you'll always be the same, because that's how it has to be. You'll always be who you are. You'll complain about the same things. You'll right, but you're something more than you ever were. Right? Which is basically what we were saying at the beginning. They don't take away our individuality, but they give us more meaning and depth to our individuality. We become more, hopefully, masters of this incredible system that Hashem has given each one of us. And our emotions no longer control us, but our emotions become our connection to reality, where we feel. The song that we sang at the beginning is we feel how it is to go into the depths and to believe in Hashem, to know that Hashem is there even when we go into the dark places. And that makes such a difference for us. So that ties it together for me. I hope for you also. So let's just close our eyes and breathe. Breathing into being mitboded, being detached a little bit from the external level by appreciating more the internal levels. Not just a room with walls and a building, a holy space, a light space, a lavat esh, a place of fire, of spiritual fire that doesn't ever go out, that allows the walls to exist. But when we're in the space of the light itself, the light takes over and the walls become secondary. And inside of our cranium, our light, the light of coming into your forehead, into the top of your head, being filled and flooded with light, and all the way down into our heart center, and into our abdomen, into our sexual organs, into our legs, and down to our feet, into the ground. Trees we are, rooted above. How much we need to be able to receive the sap, the life-giving sap, to bring it all day down from the top into every part of ourselves, to know every part of ourselves, to know the light in every part of ourselves, to appreciate the miracle of our lives, or the miracles of our life. That the little things don't bother us as much, because the big things are so much more bitter, so much bigger and beautiful. And you can go to this place anytime. The prayer is always supposed to be, is to be able to get this place of deep appreciation of who you are, or who we are, what we're connected to. And try and join with everybody here also, and join with everybody's higher soul, and all of our higher souls join together. It's a pyramidal structure of the higher we go, the more we're all connected, all Israel, all humanity. And then when we come back down into our individuality, we come back with greater light, with greater power, greater ability to love each other, to empower each other in a good way. Hallelujah, that we can be healers for each other, truly assist each other in fulfilling our highest purpose and mission. When you go to sleep tonight, be thankful that you are able to sleep on a bed and go into a deep sleep and a healing sleep. And whatever needs to happen in your sleep should happen. Awaken in the morning with freshness. Whatever negativity you have to deal with, the stronger your sense of your own mission is, the more you can grapple with whatever the problems are, but they're knocking you down. They're going to make you grow. They're given to us in order for us to become greater, to become forward. As we've said, Joseph had to overcome Potiphar's wives. Everything that she tried to do to him to get him in Israel, in order to become Yisrael Yaakov. So but there's fighting. There's a reason to fight. We have some good stuff on our side helping us. And Am Yisrael, we should be protected from any of those who want to hurt us. Hashem is protecting us, but even when one Jew was killed, God forbid, on the road, it's a tragedy for all of us. Please Hashem protect us, allow us to become Am Yisrael in the fullest sense of the word, to give a light to the world. Be humble, careful, be loving, caring, there for each other, who teach wisdom and who help heal their husbands and their friends and their families. Men who are capable of caring, hearing, and not being all over with what they think. Each one of us masculine has to work on its femininity, and feminine has to work on its masculinity. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo echsar, b'nodesh יביסני על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובב ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. ילך בגד צלמת לא יירא רע כי אתה עמדי גם כי אלך בגד צלמת לא יירא לא יירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי. שתה בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב בחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. na 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 na. Wow, thank you. Take it with us. Take it with you.